Good evening. Let me just tag, let me just tag some people. Welcome. Hi, Abby. Okay, so I'm going to get started straight away because I think a lot of people are going to watch on Catch Up. Hi, Vicky. Thanks for joining. If you are watching on Catch Up, please do pop a little hashtag replay in the comments because it's really helpful for letting the video pop up again in people's news feeds. So this video is called How Best to Deal with Situations Beyond Your Control. And it was voted for quite popularly in the group. So yeah, I thought it would be useful to talk about the brain perspective. Lots of the advice and lots of the things I'm going to say in this video is not like mind-blowing stuff in the sense that you've probably heard this advice before, but what I'm going to do is going to give you the science behind why these things are important. And often when you understand the reason why something's important, it makes it easier to do, or makes it more likely that you're actually going to practice it. So yeah. If you've not seen a video of mine before, or you've been invited to the group recently, or you're watching on YouTube and you've no idea who I am, let me just introduce myself. My name is Jenna Holloway and I'm a solution-focused hypnotherapist, and a big part of what I do is teaching how the brain works, because when you have that level of understanding, you have higher self-awareness of what's going on in your day-to-day life and how you're responding to things. And that can make things so much easier for you because you react in different ways. You can train yourself to react in different ways and do things differently to help you have a much better state of mind. So I don't do hypnotherapy in this group or on YouTube, but if you like what I say and you're interested, please feel free to message me. But yeah, everything I share here is obviously free. And if anything here resonates with you and you know somebody who it would help, please do feel free to invite them to the group. Or if you're on YouTube, just share the link. So how best to deal with situations beyond your control. They're going to happen very regularly. And the best thing you can do is to respond from your intellectual mind. Now, we can operate from two parts in our brain. Our brain is designed for survival. Our brains are the same now as when we were living in caves, having to, cope with the threat of being eaten alive by tigers, and it was much more dangerous back then. So it made sense to have a brain that can kick in with so much adrenaline at any moment back then, but not so much now. It's a not very good brain to live in if you don't understand how it operates. And so many people don't, and they get stuck in survival mode, and that can be very exhausting and not very nice to live. If you're stuck in survival mode, you're feeling very stressed or overwhelmed or exhausted or just unhappy. And you're most likely feeling very reactive to situations. You're not able to let things go very easily. You're just constantly feeling like you're, just sort of keeping your head above the water when you're in survival mode. And it's just not a very nice place to live your life from because by definition, you're in survival mode, and that is not great because it's not very enjoyable to live from there. So that's where we don't want to be. Where we do want to be operating from is what we call the intellectual mind. And that is where you've got intellectual control over the things that you're doing, the things that are happening to you. And what it feels like to live your life from your intellectual mind is that you've got control and you are able to have perspective over things that happen. You don't get things out of proportion. You don't overreact to things. You stay calm. You get the best out of yourself. You don't overthink or anything like that. And life is so much easier when you are operating from your intellectual mind. And how best to get there is to keep your stress bucket levels low. Now, if you've not come across that term before, it's a metaphorical term for your brain. So everybody has a stress bucket, a metaphorical stress bucket in the brain, and the more it fills up, the harder you're going to find it to keep your cool, and to not overreact and to not be able to let things go. So you want to be keeping your stress bucket levels low so that you can find it easier to cope with situations that are beyond your control. So these few tips then that I'm going to give are going to be easier to put into practice if you're in your intellectual mind. But if you're watching this video and you feel like these tips are going to be hard to implement, then I'd suggest probably watching some of my other videos to try and find out a little bit more about how do you actually get into your intellectual mind, because we're not going to cover that today, but I have done videos on them. So if you can't find them, just let me know and I can tag you. But tip number 1 is to help you get perspective by asking yourself the question, when something happens that you're feeling like irritated by or stressed by, that's beyond your control, ask yourself, will it matter in a year or in 5 years from now? Because if it won't, then don't worry about it. Try to move on, because it's obviously not that much of a big deal if it's not going to matter in 6 months or a year down the line. It might feel like horrendous, whatever situation is happening, like maybe you're embarrassed by something or you're scared of something or whatever, but actually if you kind of zoom out and get perspective and think, is it actually going to matter in a few weeks or months down the line, then try to let it go now. And the really good motto to live your life by is don't sweat the small stuff. Don't waste your time getting stressed or annoyed by little things. And if you find that ridiculously hard to do, then hypnotherapy is amazing, because it helps you to just be able to not be irritated by things like that. And you can download my free sleep hypnotherapy audio to help you kind of make progress on that yourself. I'll pop the link in the comments to that if you've not got it already. So you can access that and just listen to that when you go to sleep at night, and that will help you make those changes on a subconscious level that stop you feeling irritated by small things. But the more you can do to lower your stress bucket levels as well, the more easier you'll find that. So yeah, will it matter in a year from now or 5 years from now? Number 2 is to know that everybody in life is doing the best that they can with the resources that they've got or the experience that they've got. So you might think like this situation that is beyond your control might be due to the actions of another person, either a colleague or a loved one or something. But everybody's circumstances and the way they react to situations is purely down to their own experience in life. And if you have a certain level, for example, if you've got a certain level of empathy or understanding or knowledge about something that another person doesn't, and their actions are really irritating you, then just understand that they are a completely different person with a completely different skill set and a completely different experience in life, and everything that you've ever lived through is in your subconscious mind and affects how you react to things. So if somebody has had a very difficult past, then that can make them act in ways that you might think are really not understandable, or really you might think it's ridiculous, but you've not lived the life that they've lived. And so to have the understanding that everybody is doing the best with the resources that they have and the experience that they have really helps you to kind of maybe zoom out a little bit as well and just think, okay, that person or whatever situation we've got in mind here, or whatever situation you're coming to watch this video in mind, everyone's doing their best and you're doing your best as well. Day in, day out, you're doing your best. And if you're struggling and you're in your primitive brain, then it's not your fault. Life is much harder in your primitive brain, because you are in survival mode. Your brain is releasing far too much adrenaline day in, day out, and it's making your life harder. I've kind of gone down a little bit of a rabbit hole here, but yeah, my original point was everyone is doing their best with with the experience they've got. So if the situation is beyond your control and it's to do with the actions of another person, just try to remember that they're doing their best. And another tip that I say in a moment might help as well, because that on its own probably doesn't help. But yeah, the next one is to let go, to practice letting go. Because if somebody's done something to hurt you or upset you, then depending on the situation, obviously everything is different. But if there's been an apology or there's not been an apology or whatever the circumstances are, you need to be able to let go in order to move forward. And this might be let go in the sense that you don't have control. So move on with your day. Really, really practice just trying to move on, because your negative emotions and your negative energy that you have on the situation is only going to be affecting you and potentially others around you, but it's making your day and your life harder. And if the situation is beyond your control, then it's beyond your control. So there's no point feeling negative emotions that are going to make your life harder and make your day harder. So take a deep breath and let go. And music helps. If you can put on some music or do some dancing or just like move your body in some way, that's really good for helping emotions and negativity pass. So next one is practice forgiveness. I mentioned it slightly there, but really do try and practice forgiveness, because if somebody's done something to upset you and either they know about it or they don't, or they've apologized or they haven't, regardless of that, really try to practice forgiveness, because if you don't forgive, then you're holding that inside, that anger, that resentment, whatever it might be, you are holding that, and that is not healthy because it's negative. It's in your stress bucket. It's making things harder for you in terms of your life day in, day out because of your stress bucket levels, but also on a health sort of your body as well, because when your stress bucket levels are higher, your immune system is more stretched. You know, you're not in your best shape. If you're in your primitive brain, you're releasing too much adrenaline. Your immune system is, I can't think of the word that I need, but basically is not in as good a position as it would be if you are able to practice forgiveness and you're able to get yourself up in your intellectual mind. Then you're going to be so much better off mentally, but also physically. Your health and your emotions, all of this, you're going to benefit if you can practice forgiveness and the art of letting go. What else have I got on here? The final tip then is to look after yourself. Because if you look after yourself in the sense that you make time for yourself to do the things that you enjoy, and to rest and relax and not be going 100 miles an hour day in, day out, looking after everybody else's needs but yours, and just work and not having any fun, then you're going to find all of these tips harder, and you're just going to find life harder in general because your stress bucket levels are more full. Because when we are doing things that we enjoy purely for the sake of enjoyment, when we are looking for ways that we can have fun and we can rest and we can enjoy ourselves, then your brain is getting feel-good chemicals and feel-good hormones that it needs to lower your stress bucket levels and to help you feel good and to help you get into your intellectual mind. So the more that you can make time for yourself to do the things that you enjoy, the better you're going to feel, and the more likely it is that you are going to be operating from your intellectual mind and be able to implement all of these tips that I'm giving you, because life is so much easier from your intellectual mind. You'll know when you're in your intellectual mind, because you'll realize that, for example, if somebody cuts you up on the road, you don't get as angry as you do on another day. That's not actually the best example, because sometimes that is a hardwired reaction that you don't want to be doing. If you overreact on the road, that's not great, but it's more of a sign that you're in your primitive brain. Can't think of an example right now, but there'll be times when in your day something is happening. Maybe there is I've got an example. Somebody, maybe a colleague or a family member, is tapping, on the table or something like that. And when your stress bucket levels are more full, that's going to annoy you more. But then on days when you're in a better frame of mind, because your stress bucket levels are lower and you're in your intellectual mind, that kind of thing's not going to bother you. So you can see, hopefully that will resonate with you, in the sense that you'll know when there's been days when you're in your intellectual mind. Life is much easier. You're more able to go with the flow. You're more able to not fly off the handle, not react to things. And then other days when your stress bucket levels are higher and you're reacting, you're feeling stuck, you're feeling like you can't let go. And that's an example and a sign that you're in your primitive brain. And what you need to do is start looking after yourself better, and doing the things that you enjoy, prioritizing yourself more, to try and get yourself up into your intellectual mind. So if what I've said has been really helpful to you, then I'm really, really pleased. If what I've said has sounded good, but you know in your heart of hearts that actually it's impossible for you to do because you are so stuck, then you might need a little bit more help to get you out of your primitive brain and up into your intellectual mind. So yeah, like I said, I'm a hypnotherapist. That is what I actually do with my clients. And hypnotherapy, the aim of how I work with clients, hypnotherapy works for so many things, but the thing that I work with clients is getting the stress bucket levels down, getting you living your best life by getting you into your intellectual mind. And other benefits come with it along the way, but that is the number one priority, to get you out of your primitive brain, up into your intellectual mind, and lowering your stress bucket levels. So I hope that's been helpful for you. Any questions, please let me know in the comments. Or if you're watching this on YouTube and you would like to send me a message, I'm not sure if you can do that on YouTube. So you can find me on Instagram or on Facebook. I'll put all of the information in the info bar. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll be back next week with another live. Take care. Bye.